The world is watching, and not everyone is cheering for the Philippines. Some countries feel threatened, others jealous, and a few even try to hold back Filipino success. From economic rivals to former colonizers, these nations have shown clear discomfort with the Philippines' rising influence. But why? What are they afraid of? Get ready for shocking revelations as we expose 12 countries that just can't stand Filipino success. 12. United Kingdom. The UK has often criticized the Philippines' domestic policies, particularly in international forums. Many Filipinos see this as an attempt to discredit the country rather than genuine concern for human rights. While the UK presents itself as a champion of democracy, its selective criticisms raise eyebrows. Why focus on the Philippines while ignoring similar issues elsewhere? Beyond politics, a fierce competition exists between the Philippines and the UK in the business process outsourcing (BPO) industry. Both nations have strong outsourcing sectors, but the Philippines' highly skilled English-speaking workforce has rapidly gained ground. This threatens the UK's dominance in the global outsourcing market. Historical tensions also play a role. While the British briefly occupied Manila in the 18th century, remnants of colonial attitudes persist. Some Filipinos feel that the UK still sees developing nations as inferior. As the Philippines continues to rise, the UK seems uncomfortable acknowledging its progress. 11. Australia. Australia has repeatedly criticized the Philippines over human rights, law enforcement, and governance. While it claims to champion democracy, many Filipinos see this as unnecessary interference, especially when Australia faces its own internal issues. The tension has led to growing distrust, making Filipinos question whether Australia's motives are sincere. Territorial disputes add to the strain. Australia has increased its military presence in the South China Sea, an area crucial for Filipino fishermen. While some see this as a strategic move against regional threats, others believe Australia is meddling beyond its jurisdiction. Filipinos feel that their country should lead decisions about its own waters. Education is another battleground. The Philippines has emerged as a strong competitor in higher education, but Australia aggressively recruits international students, often making it difficult for Filipino institutions to attract talent. With stricter visa policies, Australia makes it hard for Filipinos to study there while promoting its own universities. As the Philippines grows into a global competitor, Australia's unease becomes more apparent. 10. Indonesia. Maritime disputes between Indonesia and the Philippines have caused significant tensions, particularly in contested fishing areas. Filipino fishermen have faced harassment from Indonesian authorities, leading to diplomatic protests. Both nations rely on the sea for their livelihood, making these disputes even more sensitive. The competition extends beyond territorial waters. In the global labor market, the Philippines and Indonesia both send millions of workers abroad. However, Filipino workers have an edge due to their English proficiency, dominating fields like customer service and healthcare. Indonesia, though, is catching up, creating intense rivalry for overseas contracts. Cultural misunderstandings also fuel the tension. Despite similarities in traditions, differences in religion and governance have caused friction. Misinterpretations of policies and public statements have led to conflicts between citizens of both nations. These clashes make it difficult for Filipinos and Indonesians to fully align despite their geographical closeness. While cooperation is possible, the competition remains fierce. 9. Vietnam. Beyond trade, territorial disputes between Vietnam and the Philippines further strain their relationship. The South China Sea remains a hotbed of contention, with both nations asserting their sovereignty over various islands and reefs. The frequent encounters between their naval forces and coast guards add to the volatility of the region. While both nations oppose China's aggressive claims, their own overlapping territorial assertions have caused friction. Filipinos also note Vietnam's growing influence in ASEAN, sometimes seeing it as a rival rather than a partner. Vietnam's rapid economic development and rising global presence have led to comparisons, with both countries striving to attract foreign investments and boost their industries. This underlying competition, mixed with unresolved territorial disputes and economic rivalries, makes the relationship between Vietnam and the Philippines complicated. Despite these challenges, there are efforts to strengthen diplomatic ties. Both countries recognize that cooperation is vital for regional stability and economic growth. However, the ongoing disputes over fishing rights, trade competition, and maritime sovereignty mean that tensions between the two nations remain a significant issue in Southeast Asia. 8. China. China's aggressive territorial expansion in the South China Sea has made it the Philippines' most contentious rival. Beijing's construction of artificial islands, military bases, and its harassment of Filipino fishermen have ignited international disputes. The Philippines, despite legal victories such as the 2016 Hague ruling that invalidated China's sweeping claims, still faces relentless encroachments. Many Filipinos believe that China refuses to respect their sovereignty, treating the country as a mere obstacle to its dominance in Asia. Aside from territorial disputes, China's economic grip on the Philippines raises concerns. While Chinese investments have fueled infrastructure projects, critics argue that they come at a cost: debt dependency, environmental harm, and even national security risks. Allegations of Chinese interference in Philippine politics and business further deepen suspicions. Another point of contention is the influx of Chinese workers in the Philippines. Many Filipinos feel that they are being displaced in their own country, especially in the booming online gaming industry, which employs a large number of Chinese nationals. The resentment towards China is not just about territorial issues. It extends to economic influence and perceived overreach into Philippine affairs. Despite its powerful influence, China remains an uneasy partner to the Philippines. While trade and investments continue, the distrust between the two nations makes their relationship one of the most complex in Asia. 7. United States. Despite being longtime allies, tensions between the United States and the Philippines have surfaced multiple times. While Washington presents itself as a defender of democracy and human rights, its history of military interventions and past colonial rule over the Philippines have left scars. Many Filipinos feel that the U.S. often treats the Philippines as a subordinate rather than an equal ally. One major point of friction is U.S. interference in Philippine domestic policies. American criticisms of the Philippine government, particularly regarding human rights and governance, have often been met with resistance. Filipinos argue that the U.S. selectively enforces its principles, ignoring its own domestic issues while pointing fingers at smaller nations. Economic relations between the two nations have also been a source of contention. While the U.S. remains a major trade partner, Filipino businesses sometimes feel disadvantaged by American policies that favor its own industries. In addition, the U.S. military presence in the Philippines, while seen by some as necessary for regional security, is viewed by others as an infringement on national sovereignty. Despite these tensions, the U.S. and the Philippines maintain a complex relationship. While the alliance continues, many Filipinos believe that true success means standing on their own without excessive reliance on their former colonizer. 6. Japan. While Japan and the Philippines have built strong diplomatic and economic ties, underlying tensions still exist due to historical and territorial disputes. Japan's occupation of the Philippines during World War II left lasting wounds, with some Filipinos believing that Japan has not fully atoned for its past atrocities. Although Japan has provided financial aid and investments, historical grievances still linger in the minds of many. Economic competition is another area of tension. Both nations are major players in the electronics, automotive, and shipbuilding industries, often competing for international markets. While Japan is an established leader, the Philippines is rapidly emerging as a strong contender. Some Filipinos feel that Japan still views them as a junior partner rather than an equal competitor. Maritime issues also add complexity to their relationship. Japan supports the Philippines in its territorial disputes with China. Yet some Filipinos question whether this support is driven by genuine friendship or merely Japan's own geopolitical interests. Despite their cooperation, Japan's growing influence in the region is sometimes viewed with skepticism in the Philippines. Although relations between the two nations remain strong, historical scars and economic competition ensure that Japan is both a strategic partner and a silent rival to Filipino success. 5. South Korea. South Korea and the Philippines share a long history of diplomatic ties, but their relationship is not without tension. One major issue is the treatment of Filipino workers in South Korea. Many overseas Filipino workers, OFWs, in South Korea face discrimination and harsh labor conditions, leading to frustration among Filipinos who believe that their contributions to the Korean economy are undervalued. Another area of rivalry is in the entertainment and pop culture industries. The rise of K-pop, K-dramas, and Korean beauty products has overshadowed the Philippine entertainment industry. Many Filipinos feel that their own artists and cultural exports struggle to gain global recognition due to South Korea's dominance. The push for Filipino talent to be recognized internationally has fueled a silent competition between the two nations. Trade imbalances also create friction. South Korea exports vast amounts of electronics, cars, and technology to the Philippines, while Filipino products struggle to gain the same level of market penetration in South Korea. This economic imbalance leads some Filipinos to question whether the relationship is truly beneficial or if they are being used as a consumer market without equal opportunities. Despite these tensions, South Korea remains an important ally. However, as the Philippines continues to rise, it seeks to carve out its own identity rather than be overshadowed by Korean influence. 4. Malaysia. The territorial dispute over Sabah remains the biggest issue between Malaysia and the Philippines. Sabah, which the Philippines has long claimed as part of its territory, is currently under Malaysian control. This dispute has led to diplomatic tensions and even military confrontations in the past. Many Filipinos believe that Malaysia benefits from a historical injustice, while Malaysia refuses to entertain any discussions of returning the territory. Economic competition also plays a role in their strained relations. Malaysia and the Philippines compete in industries such as palm oil, manufacturing, and tourism. While Malaysia has a more developed economy, the Philippines is quickly catching up, leading to silent competition in attracting foreign investors and businesses. Despite these rivalries, Malaysia and the Philippines still maintain diplomatic and economic ties. However, the unresolved Sabah issue continues to be a thorn in their relationship, preventing full trust from being established. 3. Singapore. Singapore is seen as a success model in Southeast Asia, and its economic dominance sometimes creates friction with the Philippines. While both nations are economic powerhouses, the Philippines is still working to reach the level of development that Singapore has achieved. This has led to comparisons and occasional feelings of inferiority among Filipinos. Workplace discrimination is another issue. Many Filipinos working in Singapore feel that they are treated as second-class citizens, despite their contributions to the local economy. The strict immigration policies and limited opportunities for Filipinos to rise in corporate ranks have also fueled resentment. Despite these challenges, Singapore and the Philippines remain strong economic partners. However, as the Philippines continues its rise, many hope for a more balanced relationship. 2. Canada. The Philippines-Canada waste dispute was more than a diplomatic issue. It was an insult. Between 2013 and 2019, Canada shipped tons of trash disguised as recyclables to the Philippines. Outraged Filipinos demanded justice, seeing it as an act of disrespect. After years of delays, Canada finally retrieved the waste, but the damage to relations had already been done. Canada has also interfered in Philippine affairs by criticizing the war on drugs. While Canada claims to advocate for human rights, many Filipinos see their criticisms as selective and hypocritical. The Philippine government pushed back, arguing that Canada had no right to dictate domestic policies. To add to the tensions, Canada abruptly canceled a military helicopter deal with the Philippines in 2018. The helicopters, meant for security and rescue operations, were pulled due to concerns over their use. Many Filipinos saw this as an act of distrust and an attempt to limit the Philippines' ability to protect itself. While Canada may not outright oppose Filipino success, it certainly doesn't celebrate it. 1. Germany. Germany has repeatedly criticized the Philippines' human rights policies, particularly regarding its anti-drug campaign. Filipino officials see this as interference, especially when Germany itself faces human rights concerns at home. Economically, the two countries compete in electronics and manufacturing, both striving for market dominance. Filipino tech industries are growing, but German influence often overshadows smaller economies, making it harder for Filipino businesses to gain recognition. Germany's involvement in the Indo-Pacific region has also raised eyebrows. While a defense cooperation agreement was signed in 2024, some Filipinos question whether Germany is a true ally or simply seeking geopolitical influence. The friction continues as Filipinos remain skeptical of Germany's true intentions.